Thank you. I'm Makgoba from South Africa. I'm the Vice President of the International Council for Science. At the moment, I'm the Vice Chancellor of the University of KwaZulu-Natal in South Africa. I've just got a couple of comments and questions that don't need to be answered, but they can be part of the discussion. First of all, I wanted to address something that Kari raised about scientists being trusted a little bit better than politicians. I think that may be the situation in developed countries. In developing countries that are newly liberated, the politician is number one trusted because he has brought or she has brought freedom to the masses, and therefore the scientists are of no consequence at the moment in that society. So let's get that perspective right, I think, at the moment. Secondly, I think Sir Peter described this position as almost fussy position where you work informally. And I wanted to know, how do you appoint such a person who's going to do a fussy job? Because there are many fussy thinkers in society, and if you advertise it, you'll get a lot of applicants who want to have a job as fussy as that. So, but more importantly, I think one has noticed that when governments and political parties change, the science advisors also change in some parts of the world. It may not be, but I think it may have a political implication as to how people are chosen as science advisors, but that's something that can be debated. And thirdly, how do you measure your effectiveness as a science advisor? Having been a science advisor for so long, what is it that you can make somebody remember? This is how effective I have been. Because at some stage or another, people are going to say, we're paying this guy money, but what has he brought to us? And how can you measure that as a chief scientific officer? Finally, I think all of us remember there was a man called Stalin, not so long ago. He had a scientific advisor called Lysenko in the Soviet Union. The guy who came with the theory that if you just found a cow and you started milking it, finally milk will come out of the cow. And he was a scientific advisor. What do you do as a group of scientific advisors? Should one of you be a loose cannon? Do you actually call the person to order, or call a meeting and say, look, one of us here is like a rotten apple, and what do you do with such people? Thank you.
Well, I think we've been left with some rather interesting questions there. I think just to point out that I think this issue is not unique to science advisors. Governments have advisors of all sorts of flavours, and we should realise that that is a more generic issue. But at least maybe Mark tomorrow might comment on the British model, where I think there's quite a strong consultative process for the apolitical appointment of appropriate people. So I think we can leave that to tomorrow.